Hello everybody. This is a kind of just a test to see how the stream is doing. I'm going to be developing, or rather I'm going to be showing you how to use the control rig in 4.16 and higher. I'm using 4.17.1, but you can use 4.16 if you'd like. So what I'm going to do over here is I'm going to show you what I made. I made a simple little animation, and so if I go in here and press play, you can see that all of these characters are playing an animation, and I made this animation within the engine itself. There was no need for me to take the character and put it in a DCC tool and to export the animations. I was able to create this animation in the editor just using a simple little thing. So how do we do this, right? So I'm gonna get out of the play mode, and what I'm gonna do is there's this tab over here, the animation tab, but in order to get that, you're going to have to go to the plugins tab, and you'll have to type in control, and there would be this thing called the control rig, and it says a framework for animation driven by user controls. Enable that. You'll have to restart the editor. Once the editor gets restarted, you'll be brought to the editor will restart, whatnot. What you're gonna have to do is drag and drop a skeletal mesh actor within the editor viewport. Now, what's going to happen is we're going to click the animation tab, and you can see there's some stuff here. The first thing we're going to need to do is we're going to need to create a control rig sequence. So this one, I've made a couple, but this one I'm going to call, how about we do a simple punch animation. So we'll do punch control rig sequence. Actually, I'll preface this with mannequin too, just because. So after we create our control rig, you'll notice that nothing really changed outside of the fact that we have this sequencer tab. Now, this tab is really useful because it'll allow us to modify the keyframes. But you can see that there's no keyframes, there's no tracks. How do we get that? Well, you'll have to pick this actor thing. Well, we can just use this ink dropper. So once you pick the ink dropper, what's going to happen is you'll go to save everything, and I don't know. Okay. This is a little buggy at the moment, so just bear with us. What we're going to do is we're just going to restart the editor real quick. I know there's a way to do this. How do I do it? Reset layout. So this is going to reset the editor for us. It'll also reset all of the, I guess, the way that it looks in the editor, the layout of the editor as well. I use the default layout, so it's not going to really matter for me. It's just the easiest way to restart the editor. Now, I'm sure there are other ways to get what I want to get to show up, but I've found that just restarting the editor seems to fix the problem. But this is going to be really cool. So we're going to be creating an animation within the editor itself. Now, a lot of people don't even know that this tool exists, and some people may have seen it in the GDC, but a lot of people don't even know that this exists. So let's go back to the animation tab. Let's select our control rig. It was the punch sequence, so we have our sequencer. Let's put it down here. And we're going to select our guy, and let's just select him. He's just a normal mannequin, so mannequin. Okay, it didn't do it again. So let's just create a new control rig, and we'll just save it right there. Yeah, why isn't it not? Okay, let's just delete it. Huh. This is really bizarre. I don't know why it's not working. Here, let's. Of course, when I go to try and oops, do the stream, of course it works when I was messing around with it, but as soon as I try to shut up. Okay, let's restart this. All right. This is so weird. Oh, duh. You have to add a track. Duh. Okay. So, here we go. We have our control rig. We have our animation thing. We can select a thing. And one thing that you're probably going to want to do is, like, oh, how do I start making keyframes and stuff like that? How do I start getting animated? Well, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to select everything, and if I go down here and left click, just make sure the sequencer tab is selected because it won't work with all the bones or whatever you want selected. With this selected in here, you can press enter. I thought you could press enter. It should give me a keyframe. Come on, what the heck? There it goes. I don't know why it wouldn't do it. So basically, you know, it's a little glitchy, so just kind of mess with it until you get to the stage that I'm at. Essentially, you just set a sequence, you set the actor, you create a track, a base human track. That's specifically important. Sorry, I didn't actually show you what I did there. I went to new control rig base human. There are other tracks that you can do here. You can do like audio events and materials and stuff. We're not going to worry about that. We're just going to worry about making an animation. So with this first frame set up, if you have this thing, it says create a key when channels or properties change. Only automatically adds a key when there's already a track or at least one key. So with this selected like this, if I go back to this one, it creates a key when the channels or property change. Only automatically adds a key when there's already a track or at least one key. We are going to do the one with the key on it. not the X, the key. You can, this is snapping. You can do this, which basically, if you move the okay, so in animations, there's scale, rotation, and translation. Scale is how big the bone will be scaled up to. Like, for example, big head mode in video games. Generally, they just scale the head bone up, which will basically expand the vertices in all directions outwards. Whereas if you scale it down, it will push all the vertices towards towards itself. So if you think about space, and you can think of a scaling a bone up, that's like expansion of the universe, and when you scale a bone down, that's like a black hole. It's compressing the vertex into a point. So that's really cool. Rotation and translation are probably going to be the main things that you use, and depending on whether or not depending on what type of animation you're going to be doing, it might be better, or it might be essentially, what am I trying to say here? Essentially, so, okay, we're at frame 0, okay, and let's just do a simple, so right now I have this layer selected, and if I drop this triangle, you can see there's scale, rotation, and location. If I go to the rotation part, and I go to Z, which will be the, this axis, so if I do Z, and I move this up, you can see that it's not actually the axis that it says it is. So there is something called bone orientation, and that matters. And so, as you can see, as I went into the editor, like I moved forward, you can see that it flipped, right? But it still is the wrong color. Like, Z should theoretically be blue, but it's actually red in this case. And you'll see right here this very fucked up error. So what's happening is there's a bug in the animation control sequence thing, where basically its location is getting set for some reason, like, consistently. Look at this. Look at it. It's like, what the fuck is it doing? So if you just go in here and you just zero these out, it will fix the problem. But if you go back in here and you start modifying it again, it's just going to do it back again. So what you do is you zero them out, you select those translation keys, or the location keys, and then you delete them. And then if you delete them and you come back in here and you do it again, you can see that it comes back, that same problem. So if you just zero those out, make sure there's no keys at that point, then you can actually physically go in here and change the rotation of it so that it's specific. You can also do this a little differently. So like this one, for example, I think when it's not filled in, it's only going to do the properties that changes, but if you do it filled in, it will key all channels. I like to do this one. Let's just see what happens if we key all the channels with the thing. See, it still does the bug, and it's very annoying, to be honest. But I guess what you could do is you could select these, create a keyframe at 0, just for shits and giggles. Yeah, it still fucks up. It's so weird too, because not everything does it. It's only some things, and I think it actually has to do with these boxes. Because, as you can see, that head was a box, but these parts don't. Oh, they do. Oh, I wonder if it's because of FK. Let's see. Let's see if that actually changes anything. I don't think it will, because these are IK as well, so potentially won't even matter. There we go. Okay. Let's turn a spine into IK. Let's just see if I can Oh, that's actually really interesting. Weird. Okay. Anyways, let's get back to animating. Let's go back to the FK into this, because I like to control the spine by itself. If you, it's a lot nicer with this skeleton, at least. Some skeletons actually will benefit from using IK. A lot of times, what animators will do is, so what we were gonna make a punch, right? Okay, so and here's one of the problems with this control rig. There isn't, like, I can't click onto the hand and be like, hey, let me select the hand bones or the finger bones, or, you know, maybe you have like some extra bones on this character. It doesn't allow you to select it. It only allows you what they have set up here. That is actually kind of annoying, but at the same time it's kind of good, because it does create a situation where there's far less to be pressed in here. Imagine if you had 3 buttons for each one of the fingers, you know, it would get a little crazy. So what I can do is I can start like posing this guy, right? And a lot of times animators, what they'll do is they'll pose the character in IK, and then they'll actually animate the character in FK. Which IK stands for inverse kinematics and FK stands for forward kinematics, and there are differences in them. And I'm gonna add a keyframe on this control. As you can see, as I bring this over, the shoulder is changing, the shape, the elbow, all of it. But let's zoom in here back a little bit so you can see better. You can see that the elbow is actually changing, right? You go further back, and it really pulls that shoulder out. But if you bring it in, it twists it, right? So how do you get that shoulder to go back? Well, you bring it real far away, you bring the elbow out, and I think if we bring it up into the air, it will bring the shoulder rotated forward. And you see it's kind of far out there, but as you see, the shoulder looks much better, and it kind of looks a lot more, I guess, realistic, right? And obviously you can set these, you know, movements and rotations up to how you want it, but right now we're just kind of like posing the guy to get something really simple here. You know, this isn't really an animation tutorial, it's just kind of showing you how to get this, you know, working. So what I'm gonna do is bring this back over here, so you can see that, like, you know, since this is IK, it's actually bending the elbow as we move it, and it's basically trying to keep proper shoulder elbow rotation. But, you know, we have this this IK joint that will actually help us, you know, really sell the positioning of, you know, what you're trying to do. So, like, I bring this shoulder out here a little bit, but now you can see the shoulder's a little bit into his thing, and it's probably because we probably need to pull it out even further away, which is kind of crazy. What we'll do is I'll actually bring it up, bring it further back, I think till about right there. Yeah, it looks a little better. Okay, so really I was going to make a punch animation, but really it doesn't even really matter what you make. As you can see, you go over here and it's like, okay. But it's like, oh, what if I wanted to have these frames before? So it's like, oh, I didn't want these, but I still want that same position. So let's go back to 120. We'll just, actually, let's do 60 frames. That should be fine. And so we'll select all these. We'll make sure this is in here, and we'll make a keyframe, right? Just delete those locations. You can see it's a full circle, and when you delete those location bits and you drop that back, it's no longer a full filled in. And it says right here, key interpolation, cubic auto, cubic user, or cubic break. Or you can do linear and constant and whatnot. These are just like how the frame is going to be interpolated, right? So what is it going to interpolate to? So if I go here and do constant, or actually let's oops. Oh well. I'll just make a new. There we go. And then so we'll just drag out here to 60. And then we'll make a new keyframe. So in the middle, we'll just do something funny, like we'll grab his pelvis, right? And what we'll do is we'll select all this, just for shits and giggles. We'll just kind of bring him down. So, so what we can do, go that way, bring these forward and down. And then I'll just go to 100 over here. Oops, that's not what we wanted. Okay. And then see, and what's amazing about this is I didn't really even do anything. Like, I just kind of fucked around. So what's really awesome about this is if we just export this, right, we can select the skeleton. I'll do the mannequin just because. We'll create a new animation sequence. And this will just be called new animation sequence. It will be the punch control frame rate. You can set what the hertz is. You can convert this. Now, what's amazing about this, if I select this, actually let's select all these, and we'll just do new anim sequence, but then this one, I'll do the press. So if I save this and I play this, there we go. We have our animation. And you know, this was all done in the editor. There was absolutely nothing that we did in a DCC tool plugin, which is amazing. It's quite amazing. And what's really amazing about this is, so there's like pose assets, right? There is this tool that allows you to create poses and then blend between poses. And what's really amazing is that this animation control rig will allow you to create, you know, animation sequences. But what's really cool is you can pose a single pose in a single frame, export that out as a single pose, a single framed animation, and then you'll have yourself a pose asset, which is really useful and beneficial. So imagine a situation where you have a character's face, right? And if character's face is all rigged up, and using this control rig, if I go out of here actually, and I can actually, this control rig is just this rig, right, that can actually be developed. So what I mean by that is, here, let's close out the sequencer. So the control rig will go away when you do that, and we can keep the same actor selected, but what I'll do is I'll create a new one just for shits and giggles, and then create a track of the base human. Or I'm sorry, that's not what I wanted. Let's delete the base human, and we'll go to hierarchical control rig. So you can see right away that it just destroyed the skeleton, and that's because it's I believe this hierarchical rig isn't actually set up right yet. But for example, a human rig, it does the same thing. It just totally destroys it. But if we look up here, there's the spine, and it's really interesting. There's all these different there are these buttons up here, right? So you can see that they're not. It's buggy, right? But what this shows is that potentially you can have a specialized rig that you can create that will allow you to, set up different IK things and animate your character in the engine and see it being rendered in the engine versus, either A, having to have an animation tool at all, knowing and learning that thing. And it's just really interesting because I can imagine, many people finding this super useful. So if we go back in here, it's just, no, it's actually that. So yeah, it's pretty useful. And so it's just really cool to be able to like make an animation, like that pressing the button animation. It doesn't look that bad. And it was created in maybe a half an hour, which is nothing. That was learning the tool and making the animation. So you can see that, like, making an animation isn't that hard in terms of what the editor allows you. But there are things like, there's a few bugs. It'd be better to be able to bring it into an actual tool like Maya to be able to control things like facial features or extra bones or fingers and toes and whatnot in a more manageable sense. But this is a great first part to be able to do this. Now, I think that's about it. I think that's it.